What a game last night, first off. And really what it came down to, OKC flipped the script, right? They flipped the script in the fourth quarter. If you look at the Pacers had outscored OKC by 27 points in the fourth quarter over the first three games. And the Pacers, they were the team that you look in the playoffs and what they've done in the fourth quarter, just coming back from the dead. We've talked about them being the zombies of the sports world, right? They've been so clutch in crunch time in the fourth quarter. And what did OKC do last night? They outscored the Pacers 31-17 in the fourth quarter. That is winning time. And OKC just found a way last night. They came up huge down the stretch, had to have that game. They were staring a 3-1 deficit in the face. And then you look at SGA. The MVP was clutch. Scored 15 points in the final 4 minutes and 38 seconds. We'll call it the final 5 minutes. He's the first player with 15 points and went 8 for 8 from the free throw line in the fourth quarter of a finals game since some guy named Michael Jordan in 1998. And the last quick point I will make is OKC really did remind me of the 97 and the 98 Bulls last night. Because you think about those games in Utah, those games were battles down the stretch of those series, right? You had the flu game in 97 when Jordan and the Bulls are on the road and did what they did against Utah, and then 98, the game-winning shot. Those games were so close, and it just felt like last night. When you looked at OKC, it felt like they were on a treadmill, and it was on the highest incline setting. It just felt like they were just slowly just walking up a mountain the whole night. The crowd's going crazy. Pacers have been so great in the fourth quarter and in crunch time, and they can't buy a three. They can't make a three to save their lives, and they just played great defense and were scoring however they possibly could. You even had the SGA push-off on Nesmith, a la Jordan, right? It really reminded me of the 90s Bulls last night, what happened with OKC. But what a game, man. Yeah. What an absolute game last night that was.
Yeah, that was a special game. I completely agree with you. I don't know if it directly reminded me of the 90s Bulls or what it reminded me of, to put like a perfect comparison on it, but it did feel throwback. It did feel or have moments where I felt like I was watching basketball from a different time. And look, we can complain a lot about a lot of things. You can complain a lot about the way basketball is played these days, more of a perimeter game. It features less aggressiveness, even though it's a contact sport. I feel like they're quick to the whistle, usually in terms of the referees and how games are officiated. The players, and we can get really, existential about this. The players, the amount of money they're being paid, and even in the postseason, outside of the finals, sometimes. Player usage, the coaches and players will make strange choices where if a game is starting to slip away or if a game is a blowout in the third quarter, some of these teams will roll over and die and say, hey, we'll chalk this one up as a loss and we'll look forward to the next game in this 7-game series. There was none of that. OKC was having a terrible night moving the ball. They were having a terrible night from deep, and they found a way to battle back. They never left this game. They stayed tied to the moment, to the emotion, to the momentum, and they found a way to turn the script. You're absolutely right. It wasn't pretty. It was an ugly win, but ugly wins can win you championships. If you get 4 ugly wins in a row, guess what? You just swept the team. If you get 4 ugly wins, by the time Game 7 rolls around, you just won a championship. So it's find a way, and that's exactly what OKC did last night. And that was the most fun I've had watching basketball this entire postseason, I would argue.
Well said. I think before I start, this championship series, not only in the NBA, but the NHL, the Cup Final as well. I know we complain a lot, and we whine, and we moan, and we analyze, and we overanalyze, and we will continue to do all of those things because that's our job. But I'll take a second here and just be a fan.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
this is freaking awesome. And we won't get a few more days of it, right? Maybe we'll get 2 more games in the Stanley Cup final. Oh, no, we will. We'll get 2 more games in the Stanley Cup final. Maybe we'll get 3. Maybe we'll get 3 more games of the NBA finals. Maybe. I think, frankly, both series will end in 6. That's my prediction here on June 14th. Is that the teams that won the last game have now captured momentum of both of these series. And to both of your guys' point, it wasn't pretty last night. You know what was pretty, though? The ability to overcome adversity. I think that is the true test of a champion. I honestly do. I don't think these 2 teams that we have in these championship rounds, Oklahoma City and Edmonton, the teams that I think now have the inside track to win the championship in their respective sports, I don't think they're the best teams, the best champions we've had even in the last decade or so. But both of them, obviously last night being our focus now with Oklahoma City, outscoring Indiana by 14 in the fourth quarter. The 2 stars, actually I'll say the 3 stars, Holmgren, Williams, SGA, combined 27 for 27 at the free throw line.
Wow.
Did not miss a free throw all night. The 3 best players on the best team in the league. Clutch, gritty, grueling, not an easy win. But they overcame the adversity, and they got it done. And I think that was, I don't want to say it was the sealer, because there's still, again, best of 3, anything could happen. We've seen Indiana overcome their fair share of adversity in this postseason. But Oklahoma City's a worthy champion. They deserve the flowers for going on the road last night, overcoming everything, including Stephen A. playing solitaire during the game, and being able to clinch the win. Very impressive stuff.
You know what's crazy is, depending on how a game unfolds, a stud performance might become a total footnote. You know, you go to baseball. You know, remember the Mets when Endy Chavez made that insane home run stealing catch against the Cardinals, and then the Cardinals go on and win the game, and it's a total footnote, right? Like that's how I felt last night with Andrew Nembhard. The defense he played on SGA, and how much of a pest he was, a Lou Dort-like pest, and I mean that completely complimentary. He was just pestering SGA. Until the final 5 minutes rolled around and SGA rattled off 15 points. 15 points in the final 5 minutes of the game. And it was just crazy how OKC found a way to pull it out. And now it's just kind of like, yeah, shoulder shrug, Nembhard, he did his thing. But that's not what you're going to remember from this game. A couple other things jump out at me. It's not a three-point shooting contest. I hear so many times where we make today's NBA just that. Well, if you make more threes, you're probably going to win the game. If you shoot a better three-point percentage, you're probably going to win the game. And last night, OKC was ice freaking cold from 3. They hit 3 of them all night. They shot under 19% from the three-point line. 3 for 16. You're not supposed to win games in today's NBA shooting that badly from the perimeter. And they did. It shows there are many ways to win games. You can win it with your defense. You can win it with, shots closer to the basket. You don't have to just bomb threes all night, and that's the only way you can win. And a lot of times we reduce it down to that. It's just not true. And I think we were right to point out that Mark Daigneault, the OKC head coach, has messed up numerous times in this series. But I think you got to give him some credit because it really worked out last night. He rested SGA in the first quarter. It was 9 straight games where SGA played the entire first quarter, all 12 minutes. And he sat for over 4 minutes in the first quarter last night. And that was big. I thought that was big. Otherwise, he just wouldn't have had enough gas left in the tank at the end there.
Yep.
And he hit some huge shots. The three-pointer to cut it to a 1-point deficit late. That was with 3 minutes to go. And then the next possession, it was the push-off on Nesmith. Absolutely a travel. I get Pacer fans are upset about that, but hey, not going to get every call perfectly. It's not going to go your way every single time. And when you slow it down in slow motion, that looks completely different than in live action. It looks like he pushed. It looks like a WWE push off. You know what I mean? Like when they slap each other in the chest to begin the match, that's what it looks like in slow motion. In live time, it didn't look like that. I don't think my live eyes are that bad where the push off, it just didn't look as blatant live. And the steps, it just didn't look as blatant live to me. You slow it down and it's like, oh my gosh, he really got away with one right there. But that's the way it goes, man. You're not going to get perfect officiating all the time.
Yeah, and it is a contact sport again, and so there's going to be room for error. There's going to be margins with physicality. The officials, the refs, they're going to blow their whistle for certain things, and they're going to hold off on other things. And again, it's a championship series, so I never really complain about a ref erring on the side of, hey, was it a foul, wasn't a foul, I didn't quite see it from the correct angle, I'm not going to call this one. I'm better with that than the opposite, than over officiating. I want the players and their physicality to decide outcomes. I have a question dovetailing off of what you said about SGA. I'll get to that, but I do want to comment on the fact that they were so cold beyond the arc, that 3 for 16 shooting from 3 data point. If you're going to be that poor fundamentally from a very important part of today's game, which we have to be honest, perimeter shooting is a really important part of today's game, well, you better be nails somewhere else, and they were. They out-rebounded the Pacers 43-33. Offensive boards, 12-7. You know, you're stealing possessions. And speaking of possessions, they forced the Pacers into 15 turnovers. You know, so if you add the 5 possessions they got off the glass over the top of what the Pacers were able to get when they were on defense, when you add another 15 turnovers, that means 20 extra possessions for OKC. And then when they were fouled, they made their shots. They hit 34-38 from the free throw line. So if you're going to be bad from three-point, which they were, objectively awful, then you better be great elsewhere, and they were. And I really appreciated that fundamentally, that OKC was able to keep their composure even though a big part of their game was really flummoxing them. Here's the question I wanted to arrive at. So SGA rests in the first quarter. He has a really rough start to this game. Do we think we're going to see a similar strategy in Game 5, or do we think as a result of that decision, maybe the feeling is, hey, we kind of screwed up. Like, we may have impacted how he started that game and played that game. Now, he had a phenomenal fourth quarter. The way he closed out that game was incredible. But do they do that again in Game 5?
Great question. There's 2 things that surprised me last night. First of all, he looked gas in the first quarter, even the first half. I tweeted that out. I said I was surprised. You know something's off with SGA when he had 0 free throw attempts in a half of basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a guy that is literally named the free throw merchant. Well, business wasn't good in the first half last night for the merchant. 0 free throw attempts in the first half. So I thought that was kind of your red flag that maybe he was a little bit gassed, right? He's an elite defensive player. He's being asked to do a lot on both ends. And I thought that was a really sharp decision by Mark Daigneault to give him some rest. Because I think in the fourth quarter, he looked great. He did not look gassed. I'm sure there are plenty of Pacers fans today, I've seen them on social media, that are very upset about the push-off. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Go Google Jordan push-off and then tell me what you see. And then you tell me how you feel about the one we saw last night. Like, I think, to Rich's point, in these games, you're going to have to let some stuff go. And Scott Foster, I know he's had his moments in life in his refereeing career, but I think that was the right. Like, if that was a 50-50 call last night, I think he was smart for leaving his whistle in his pocket. I commend that. And yeah, Rich, again, you nailed it. Like, the 3-point shots weren't falling, but they out-rebounded Indiana. They won the turnover battle. They won the fourth quarter convincingly. They did all the little things that you need to do to win a basketball game in the fourth quarter in the NBA Finals, essentially with the finals on the line. You go down 3-1, tough ask. It can be done, but very tough ask. Now you're 2-2. You get home court. You're going to have 2 games at OKC. You're going to be a double-digit favorite in both, most likely. I think it's like 9.5 right now. it's going to take a monumental effort for Indiana to win one of those games. I don't think they're going to win either. I think it's going to be OKC in 6. I think last night was the series. And I give the Thunder their flowers. They are a worthy champion. They overcame what they needed to overcome in order to get that one win on the road. They had game 1 won, and they blew it. They needed to go into Indiana and get one of these games, and they got one. And to me, that's what it takes to win a title.
Yeah, and that was a high hurdle they jumped over last night. Because that place was a madhouse. And the Pacers, I mean, they were in great position to go up 3-1. I didn't agree with a lot of the talk the day of, where it's like, if they go up 3-1, it's a freaking wrap. Forget it. No chance. No how. It's like, really? I think it'd be funny if OKC ends up winning 3 straight games, right?
Yep.
Now, I realize it's a lot different winning 3 straight games when you're down 2-1 than if you're down 3-1. I get that. But it would be funny for everyone who's like, if OKC goes down 3-1, forget it. It's over. No chance. No way. And they end up winning 3 straight games. That'd be pretty funny.
Guess what the favorite is right now for the series? It's OKC in 6.
Yeah. And there's a good chance that will happen. We'll see how that unfolds.